So the resolution we would have to do next. Thanks. It's not in here. The CFAs are good.
10:02. So let's, now that you're all in your seats, let's call the meeting to order. Ms. Clary.
As we go forward with using think about what we do have
We rise and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with liberty and justice. There, and there. In case of such emergency, please proceed to the nearest exit, find the nearest staircase, descend the stairways and leave the building, get as far away from the building as you can, so rescue squads and emergency squads can do their jobs. If in need of assistance, please contact one of us to help you exit the building safely. Please silence your cell phones for this meeting. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hanky,
Here.
Mrs. Fedler, Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Shaw,
Here.
Mr. Hall,
Here.
Mr. Fisher,
Here.
Mr. Hicks,
Here.
Mr. Nolan, Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Half, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Skelly, Mr. Hogan, Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mrs. Clary, Mr. Griffith,
Here.
Mr. Rosell.
Here. When was the time for the public meeting?
10:05.
Well, we got one more minute to go. So we'll skip down. I'll consider the condensed minutes for May 19th, 2023 to be accepted as mailed unless there's any additions or corrections. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none. Looks like the thing ticked over. We'll start the public hearing for local law B of 2023. If the clerk would read the notice, please.
Public hearing concerning introductory local law B of 2023. The Board of Supervisors of Washington County will hold a public hearing in the Supervisors Chambers, County Office Building B, Fort Edward, New York, on the 16th day of June, 2023 at 10:05 a.m. to consider the adoption of proposed introductory local law B of 2023, a local law providing for exemption from county taxation for real property owned by an enrolled member of an incorporated volunteer fire company, fire department, or incorporated voluntary ambulance service or spouse pursuant to New York real property tax laws, section 466A. All persons interested in the subject matter of proposed introductory local law B of 2023 will be heard at that time and place concerning the same.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing at 10:05. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on local law B of 2025? Is there any member of the public who wishes to be heard on local law B of 2025 or 2023? Excuse me. Get a little ahead of myself there. Anyone, any member of the public wishes to be heard on local law B of 2023? Having called for public comment 3 times and heard none, I will close this public hearing. What's the next time?
Same thing, 10:05.
Okay. And we'll call for the public hearing on the CDBG housing grant application for 2023 program year. The clerk will read the notice, please.
Legal notice of public hearing. The Washington County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on June 16, 2023 at 10:05 a.m. in the Board of Supervisors Chambers, Washington County Municipal Center, Building B, 383 Broadway, Fort Edward, New York, for the purpose of hearing public comments on the Washington County's community development needs and to discuss the possible submission of one or more community development block grant applications for the 2023 program year. The notice was duly published.
We'll Open the public hearing on the CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Grant Application 2023. Is there any member of the public wishes to speak on this? Anyone wish to comment, excuse me, on a CDBG housing grant? Is there any public comment on the CDBG housing grant application? Having called for comment 3 times and heard none, I will close this public hearing and
It's if they're gonna go out, and this gives them the ability to go out.
yes, you have to have a public hearing. No, there isn't.
I have public literature if the public has any questions or comments about the program. More than welcome to myself. the clerk, that-
It's public. She's got all kinds of stuff. Anybody wants it, go get it.
I don't see any information in our packet about this. Ticonderoga Pride has information that she has, but why aren't there multiple copies made for the public and us? We are holding a public hearing right now on something we don't know about, unless you happen to be in that subcommittee.
The public hearing notice gave the public, not you folks, the public, the place to obtain the information. So they could have gone to Debbie to get the information so they would have understood what they had to comment on. The public hearing is not for your benefit. It's for you to hear comments from the public on the information that we have discussed in the committee already about applying for housing rehab grants. So before we can apply, we have to collect from the public, not from the board, because there'll be a vote on that eventually, whether or not they want to go ahead or think this is a good idea. So the public notice, which is it's almost a page long, describes the project, describes where you can get more information so that members of the public know this is happening today. And if they want to come and find out what's going on, where to go to find out what's going on, and then where to come and tell the board who's going to make the application what their opinion is of what the proposed application is. So that's why you don't have any materials, because it's been discussed in committee already on your behalf. But the public had their opportunity to get the materials and then come today and comment. So I'm not saying we couldn't have handed it out. I'm just saying that's probably why it wasn't handed out, because it was already made available to anybody who was interested to come and get it.
Mr. Campbell.
Well, I think, Roger, you need to differentiate, because we do have stuff for the last public hearing, but that is an actual county government project. This is from an outside entity, and I think that's what Mr. Half is missing, and we're probably all missing. So I guess if you could just respond to that to differentiate the two.
So we really don't need to hand out copies of the local laws either. Because you've already seen it, it's already been introduced, you should already have it. The public notice for a local law also says, if you want a copy of the local law, come to the clerk and get it, and she'll give you one, then you can come and comment on it. So I guess our past practice on local laws has been to again provide them for you. So that if somebody says to you, well, I don't like page 3 of local law, whatever, you can all flip to page 3 and find out what they're talking about. So I guess it's probably local habit, custom, whatever, that leads those local laws there. So I guess my response to Mr. Half is it's not improper that you don't have it. It might be inconvenient that you don't have it. Legally improper versus inconvenient.
All right, go ahead.
I understand what this is about, but I don't think the public does. But I think not having any information in our packet kind of treats us like mushrooms. And I would prefer to have information for the public about what this is about and in our packet.
We had fairly lengthy discussions in committee about it. Laura, you wanted to?
So as mentioned, this was discussed in finance, just to give you a little bit of background. there used to be an agency in the county called Homefront Development Corporation that applied to assist local residents with low-income residents with improvements to their homes. Since Homefront no longer exists, there is an agency that has been helping some of our residents throughout the county to apply for these funds to make handicap accessibility, low-income repairs, et cetera. So there are actually two agencies. One of them is Pride of Ticonderoga up in the north, and then there's one in Saratoga. Pride of Ticonderoga generously offered to submit on our behalf for funding so that they can better serve our residents who right now, with the demise of Homefront, do not have access to that. So the purpose of the public hearing is to discuss CDBG as a vehicle to secure those funds. There is more than one type of CDBG application. We can look for housing, we can look for economic development, for public infrastructure. So the hearing is intended to allow the public to comment on the best possible use of these funds, i.e., is this application a good use of the funds? And then also just to comment on the project in particular. So the idea is to apply for funds, and then Pride of Ticonderoga, and this is Nicole Justice Green, who's the executive director. They will actually handle the delivery and administration of the program, which means the receipt of the applications, processing, working with the contractors to give any assistance. So if anybody has any more specific questions, I'm sure either Nicole or I can answer them.
My name is Merle Nichols, and I'm asking, is this related to weatherization?
In weatherization is a similar program. This is not specifically a weatherization program. However, if somebody wanted weatherization as a project, they could apply to have that done.
All right, how do you apply?
Well, first we have to have the money. So the point of the public hearing, and then the next thing that needs to happen is we will need a resolution to apply, since that did not end up in this month's packet. There will actually still be time to put a formal resolution to apply for the funding at the board meeting next week. And then once the funding, we wouldn't have an announcement of funding until the end of the year, which means the program would open in what year is this? 2024, right? Yeah, 2024. So it would be after that time that individuals could apply for the funding.
Would the qualification of, if you were to ask for a grant or whatever, is the income level corresponding with heat level?
Yes.
So if you don't qualify for heat, then don't bother applying.
No, that's inaccurate. And if you qualify for HEAP, then you would automatically qualify for this program. But the program takes into a lot of different considerations of like your income, your age, your family size. And that's determined on an individual basis. One automatic qualification is if you qualify for SNAP or HEAP. But there are people who don't qualify for SNAP or HEAP just by a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 that would qualify for this program. So that's why we work with each client individually through their application. We take in all those factors into consideration. I don't want to discourage anybody from applying just because they think that they might make too much money, because often chances they do qualify, and we want to be able to assist anybody and everybody who needs that help. And if they don't qualify for this program, there's a lot of other programs out there that they would qualify for that we can help get them into those programs as well.
So this is not, there's one that I applied for in Saratoga. But I don't remember the name of the group, but.
Well, after this, please come over and chat with me, and I will give you our application for our current programs, not what we're discussing currently. They're similar, and we can see if we can help you. And then if this board decides to support this application and to assist the residents of Washington County in January of 2024, I will be back with the application specifically for this program. I will have a number of public meetings. Hopefully you all will invite me to your board meeting so I can come and speak to your constituents like I do with my other programs when the program is open and running. And we can distribute applications on a local basis so we can get local residents into this program who maybe have applied before to other organizations and have been waiting for years, which is also the intent of why we want to apply for money specifically for Washington County, because we don't have that money right now and it's split between multiple organizations and multiple counties.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more public comment? Is there any more public comment? Any other member of the public have any comment on this? Okay, having called for public comment 3 times, thank you, ladies. And heard none, we will close this public hearing at 10:18. Move on to communications.
For communications, the Greenwich Veterans of Foreign Wars sent a letter commending Veterans Director Ken Winchell for his community outreach to veterans. From Herkimer County, Chair of the Intercounty Legislative Committee of the Adirondacks, correspondence thanking Washington County for hosting the May 25th meeting and that the J.A. Barkley Fire Department was a great venue and the committee thoroughly enjoyed all of the presentations. That's all I have for communications.
Thank you. Committee reports, the audit committee.
Chairman, committee has met and voted about $3 million.
Moved by Supervisor O'Brien. Is there a second? Shaw, Hall, Fisher, Clary, Griffith, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, you have 3 proclamations in your packet. One is proclaiming May 2023 as Mental Health Month. Emergency Services Week is May 21st through 22nd through 27th. And the proclamations to all the valedictorians and salutatorians from Washington County Schools. And we'll move on to introduction of local law C of 2023. Would the clerk read the title, please?
Introductory Local Law C of 2023, County of Washington, State of New York, introduced by Supervisors Skelly, Roselle, Half, O'Brien, Shaw, Wilson, Fisher. A local law regulating sewer use for the County of Washington sewer districts number 1 and number 2.
Thank you. Supervisor's privilege of the floor. Mr. Hall, you have one?
Chairman, I respectfully request that the committee be granted for Van Driscoll, the one thing with supervisors, one side, two good laws and things in it, still on the water without it.
So you got the only mic we got us over on this side. Well, you can go either way you want, but it's you got to get to that mic somehow.
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation and opportunity to visit with you today. I'm here today because Warren County for the last, I think, 7, 8, 9 years has conducted one evening meeting, regular monthly evening meeting. And that was this past Wednesday. So I'm able to join you today. I attended a meeting at SUNY Adirondack this past week to discuss the very important SUNY Adirondack budget request, and had a chance to speak with some of my colleagues from Washington County, and thought it would be a nice opportunity for me to join you. Also to share with you my appreciation for the bi-county partnerships that we have with you. I chair the Human Services Committee, which includes Veteran Services and Youth Services, the Youth Bureau. Both of those have been home runs hit out of the park from the inception of the partnerships. The peer-to-peer program, Jeremy Dewar's collectively with our two respective veteran services directors is doing incredible work in both counties and serving the population that they're intended to serve. I've spoken to Supervisor Hall, Supervisor O'Brien, and others about us considering as both counties, Warren and Washington County, looking at opportunities to partner and collaborate on additional programs and services that would, I think, enhance opportunities to residents of both counties, possibly save some dollars and enhance the services to residents of both counties. Other than always looking to educate and inform myself, I think life is an educational process. My dad often told me that we learn until the day that we lay down and die. So again, I enjoy the opportunity to meet with you today. I'll be sitting through the rest of the meeting as long as you don't go longer than Warren County does, and I don't expect that's going to be the case. And again, thank you, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, I've got one, Merle.
When can we start? Now?
Whenever you start, you start.
Okay. Fascism. The United States government document explains is government by the few and for the few. The objective seizure and control of the economic, political, social, and cultural life of the state. The people run democratic government, but fascist government run the people. The basic principle of democracy stand in the way of desires, and democracy must go. Anyone who is not a member of the inner gang has to do what he told. They permit no civil liberties, no equality before the law. Fascists make their own rules, change them when they choose. To maintain themselves in power by use of force combined with propaganda based on primitive ideas of blood and race, by skilled manipulation of fear and hate, and by false promise of security. Fascists understand that the fundamental principle of democracy, faith in the common sense of common people, was the direct opposite of the fascist principle of rule by the elite few, it explained. So they fought democracy. They played political, religious, social, economic groups against each other and seized power while these groups struggled. America should not be fooled into thinking that fascism could not come to America. And indeed, the U.S. has experienced sorry instances of mob sadism, lynching, terror, suppression of civil liberties. We have our hooded gang, black legions, silver shirt, and racial and religious bigots, all of them in the name of Americanism, have used undemocratic methods and doctrines, which can be properly identified as fascist. The War Department said it was important for America to understand tactics fascists use to take power in the United States. They try to gain power under the guise of super patriotism and super Americanism. And they would use these techniques. First, they would pit religious, racial, economic groups against one another to break down national unity. Part of the effort to divide and conquer would be well-planned hate campaign against minority groups, races, religions, and other groups. Second, they would deny any need for international cooperation because they would fly in the face of their insistence that the supporters have better than anyone else. Third, fascists would insist that the world had but two choices, either fascism or communism, and they label as communist everyone who refuses to support them. It is virtually important to learn to spot dated fascists, the government said, even though they adopt names and slogans with popular appeals, drape themselves with the American flag, and attempt to carry out their program in the name of democracy. They are trying to destroy. The only way, I'm going to run over a few seconds. Is that okay?
I got
No, I got,
another 45 seconds for you, Merle. Go ahead.
oh, okay. I'll make it then.
I think
The only way to stop the rise of fascism in the United States, the document said, is by making our democracy work and by actively cooperating to preserve world peace and security. In the midst of the insecurity of the modern world, the hatred of the root of fascism fulfills a triple mission. By dividing people, it weakens democracy. By getting men to hate rather than to think, it prevents them from seeking the real cause and democratic solution to the problem. By falsely promising prosperity, it lures people to embrace its security. Fascism thrives on indifference and ignorance. It warns. Freedom requires being alert and on guard against the infringement, not only for our freedom, but the freedom of every American. If we permit discrimination, prejudice, or hate to rob anyone of its democratic right, our freedom and our democracy is threatened.
Mine just went off, Merle.
Okay, one sentence. And if we want to make certain that fascism does not come to America, we must make certain that it does not thrive anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other privilege of the floor? Okay, move on to the introduction to resolutions. Have the clerk read the resolves only, starting with 202. We don't.
Resolution number 202 by Supervisors Hicks, Kelly, Campbell, O'Brien, Fedler, title to appoint county youth director. Resolved that Sue Mowry, Mowrey, be appointed county youth director effective June 22nd, 2023.
Okay, Assume no one needs to recess. Move on to the consideration of the resolutions.
Resolution number 181 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Half, Hicks, Fedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Wilson, Griffith, titled to adopt introductory local law B of 2023.
Moving resolution 181.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Is there a second? Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Clary, Griffith, Roselle, and Nolan. Their discussion. This is I'm sorry, Mr. Hath.
Thank you. I'm very much in favor of this, but I have a few comments, maybe an amendment, because I think it could be made a little bit better for the future, that people read this to understand what we're doing. This is only for volunteers. If you are a paid member of a staffing company that supplies staff to EMS, whatever, you're not part of this. This is only for volunteers. So I think section 1, title and statement of intent, should read that this local law shall indicate Washington County's desire to provide real property tax relief available to, and this is the insert, available to volunteer members. Because in the body of the text, if you read it through, it continually talks about incorporated volunteer fire company, voluntary ambulance service, but fire department. Never does it say volunteer fire department. And I think some villages, maybe you have fire department members that are paid. So I'm wondering why everywhere in here, when it mentions fire department, the word volunteer is not in front of that. And I think that could easily be fixed by section 1, title and statement of intent, where it says the property tax relief is available to volunteer members of everything. So I'd like to make a motion that we amend this. Or am I too early for that?
Oh, that's,
Fire department, there's not the word volunteer in front of fire department.
Yeah.
And there is volunteer. in front of
listen,
ambulance.
is that a minor change we could make?
I'll just put volunteer in front of it.
But I think if, instead of putting volunteer in front of every fire department in the body of this, because it's mentioned many, many times, maybe it's fixed by section 1 title.
The statement of intent isn't an integral part of the law, but you can't be a member of a fire department and an employee of the fire department. That's a technical term. But if you'd like to stick volunteer in there, I'm more than happy to put volunteer in there.
Well, would it be easier to fix throughout the whole body every time it
No,
mentions
because-
fire department?
No, because then you're making substantive changes. The language in this statute, everything from section 3 on, is directly from the New York State law. Terms that are used are directly from the New York State law. I'd really be reluctant to change those terms.
If
That's
you're,
what the legislature passed.
okay, let me ask you a technical question, a loophole that I see. If you are a paid member of a fire department, because it mentions in here all the
You're
time
an
fire department.
employee of the fire department at that point, not a member. Member has a specific meaning in terms of the fire department laws, including the ones of governing workers' compensation that we pay for. A member is a different person than an employee. And this refers to members.
Well, we all don't have law degrees, Roger.
I know that.
So why can't we put the word volunteer member so that dummies like me can understand this? And I don't need a lawyer to interpret what this says.
I think Roger's saying he can't hear.
In the
but he
front,
can't
right.
change
In the
New York
statement of
State law.
intent, I'm more than happy to put the statement of intent to be whatever.
I
you'd like
think
it to
this
be.
is a guide to all of our local assessors. And I don't want someone to come to an assessor that says, I'm a member of a fire department. And then you get the whole question of what member means. So can we put,
Well, your assessor's gonna have to get a copy of the, I believe it's in a copy of the roll from the fire department of their enrolled members before they can grant the exemption.
Yeah, hang on, I got Mr. Hall.
Yeah, my comment is that the assessor should be working out of the New York State Real Property Tax Law, section 466-A, and not responding to how we write the resolution. They need to go by what the law is. And that's what it refers to here. And that's what Roger was talking about, is that's what it says in the law. He's repeated the law here. And that's what our assessor should be working out of, not what we put in a resolution, because that doesn't mean it's legal terminology just because you put in a resolution.
Yeah, the law does govern the granting of the resolution for the county taxes.
Correct.
Okay? But again, we're using the statutory law that does govern them. But the statement of intent is why are we doing this? Why are we adopting the state law? So if you want to put volunteer in the statement of intent, that's great. You can put all kinds of things in there about why we're doing it, but the how, from section 3 is the how.
I think that would address Mr. Half's point, wouldn't it?
It would address it for a layman like me.
All right. so
That's fine.
That's fine. I don't think that requires, not a substantive change. I don't think that requires an
I have
amendment.
another comment, but do you need to address my amendment to this first, or can I have another comment?
I don't think we need an amendment for that. We'll just have Roger add it to the statement of intent when it comes out.
Okay, because the statement of intent really doesn't mean anything.
Well, it does give the reasoning behind why you're doing it. I'd like to see a formal vote on it before I go making
Okay.
changes.
All right. He's made a motion to add the word volunteer before fire department.
I'll
Before
second that
firemen in
motion.
the statement of intent. Is there a second? Mr. Wilson and Mr. Griffith, discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you have another comment on the
Yes, please.
motion as amended. Okay.
Yes, because this is a little bit different because this is an exemption on your county property taxes. I have the same law in my town. And the rule for my town excludes certain people, but I'm wondering if they're excluded by the county. And I'll give you an example. If you go to section 3, subpart 2A, section 3, 2A. The applicant resides in the town or village which is served by such incorporated volunteer fire company or fire department or incorporated volunteer ambulance service. Now, in my town, I have a resident that is a volunteer member of the Argyle Fire Company. That person cannot get a town exemption because they're not the volunteer for the fire company that serves my town. They do on mutual aid, but that doesn't count for the town exemption. On the town exemption, you have to live in the town and be a member of the Hartford Volunteer Fire Company. So in this case, if this person that lives in Hartford, but is a member of the Argyle Volunteer Fire Company, would they get it? Because Roger, you're the attorney, because where it says is served by such incorporated, what does the word such mean here?
It means the one he's claiming to be a member of.
Okay, but what if that he's a member of does not serve that town?
Right, So in other words, the applicant resides in a town or village which is served by such incorporated person. So I'm a member of Argyle. Does Argyle serve Hartford? No. So you're not a member of such company that serves the town you live in. It says exactly what you're saying.
So that person would not be able to get the county exemption.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
If you're not,
Everybody
the
aware of that? That
exemption
person may not get
should,
county
the exemption should all be the same. So you're not going to get, if you don't get the town exemption, you're not going to, or village exemption, you're not going to get the county exemption either.
Okay, thank you.
It's the same statute.
Thank you.
Further comment? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Shaw.
I have Middle Falls Fire Department, Schuylerville Fire Department, Easton Fire Department, and sometimes Greenwich Fire Department. I think there's a portion where and I bet you half don't live in the town of Easton, so there'd be no way of, in fact, our chief doesn't live in the town of Easton. So they would not be eligible for this exemption. Is that correct, is what you're stating?
They'd be eligible in the town in which they lived.
Right.
That's what they'd file. They wouldn't file in Easton if they don't have property in Easton.
I find that interesting.
Well, you don't get a property exemption where you don't own property.
Well, I understand all that, but I'm just saying the membership. You take Middle Falls is in the town of Greenwich,
Right.
and they serve half of Greenwich, half of Easton. And Schuylerville is in another county, and they serve part of Easton. You know, and so anybody that, it gets really complicated. I've got to think this one out on if we can correct it at our end at all. But
Well, you look.
I'm
first-
glad you brought it up. I'm not
First-
saying that there's anything you can do about it. I'm just saying I realize there's gonna be some issues here with this.
You don't get credit for being a member of the Scroon Lake Fire Department if you live in Putnam. Is what this is saying.
But
Well-
here's the question that I think Dan's getting to. If you're the member of the Scroon Lake Fire Department, you service Putnam.
If the department serves Putnam, yes.
Okay, so that's the piece I
Yes.
think. So
Yeah.
if they're part of Skyville Fire Department, but they live in Easton and it supports Easton, then that person can still
If
claim.
Easton has a contract with Schuylerville.
Because of the
to go
service.
And serve Easton,
Makes
then
it clear.
they should be okay.
Understood.
If mutual aid doesn't count. But if that's part of the service area of that fire department. So you look at what fire department do you live in? Where do you live? If your fire department serves where you live, you're good to go.
I think a lot of us are that way. I've got contracts with JA Berkeley and the Casiuna fire company for certain portions of the town. I would say if you're under contract, that counts. They're your fire company. Okay, Mr. Hatch, you have your hand up again? Okay. Got everybody? Okay, now this is a roll call vote.
Mr. Hanky.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw. Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Hicks,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Half, Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Griffith,
Yes.
Mr. Rozell. The resolution is adopted, 4,485 yes, 205 absent. Resolution number 182 by Supervisor Skelly, Rozell, O'Brien, Shaw, Wilson, Fisher, title resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance, 100% of the federal aid and state Marcia program aid eligible cost of a transportation eligible federal aid project and appropriating funds therefore, Lock 8 Road Bridge.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 182.
Moved by Supervisor Skelly, second. Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Campbell, Wilson. Discussion. Mr. Shaw. That was an enthusiastic Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple questions and I asked a few in committee the other day. I'm not opposed to this. I just want to understand it. It said the sum is $361,069. Is for the design and develop, is that what it is? Design and development? Design work for the project. Is that already been put out to bid to come up with that number?
No, Deb was in the room. Is she gone now? There she is.
The reason I ask is it says underneath it, if it goes higher, then we've got to also pay the extra amount. And I don't know, one or two resolves past that, which
Good morning. Yeah, well, yes, it has already gone out for bid. We do a process called the LDSA process. And if it goes over, that's when you get us coming back for approval for if it goes over. Those are, what do they call them? Supplementals. When I come back and ask for a supplemental, it's justified and the state has to approve it before I ask for it. And that's how that gets added on.
okay. And so then my next question is, it says that the IDA is going to put 5% into this.
Yes.
And so when the resolve, it doesn't really, budget impact, excuse me. Are they putting up 5%, which is 18,000 in the beginning? Or are we putting all 361,000 up and have to get reimbursed when the state reimburses us from the IDA? Or is the IDA putting something in, any skin in the game here in the beginning from the get-go? I'm just trying to understand it. So since it's not our own bridge. and-
We're cash flowing the project. So we're fronting the money, we're applying for the reimbursement from the state.
Right, I understand that, but the IDA is gonna have to put this money in. Why wouldn't they put it in the beginning?
Part of what they're paying us back for with the bridge and other things is the opportunity cost, lost opportunity cost of the money that we're fronting. We theoretically are by the bridge.
Now, then they are paying for the time of our department and doing this too, is what you're saying?
So the lost opportunity cost of the funds that we're gonna be fronting that we would normally have, the staff costs are gonna be compensated by the bridge, the temporary bridge that will be coming.
Oh, okay, well, that's gonna be their
That's the
5% as we end up with the bridge.
Well,
Got
they
it.
pay the 5%. It would be 5% plus those other things, right?
Right.
So the 5% they're paying, the other things are compensated for by providing. the
It all
bridge.
just came clear, Roger. I
Okay. No,
apologize.
that's fine.
I understand now, and I actually did know that. That's terrible, this age.
Mr. O'Brien.
Darn this thing, get used to it. The 5%, we are gonna put in escrow with the county at the beginning of the project. Thank you.
Good. Mr. Hath. Turn on your mic.
Again, for dummies, language, budget impact statement. Shouldn't it say, because this kind of reads that maybe it's the 5% of the local share. The local share is 5%, correct? So shouldn't it say 5%, which is the local share, not 5% of the local share?
Doesn't say 5%
Because
of the
Dave's
local
my
share.
friend, but I don't trust him an inch. I know, but that could be interpreted that they're gonna pay 5% of the local share and
Perhaps only in Hartford.
just beware, everybody.
Any other comment? Which we can't have till Dana turns off his mic. There we go. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Was there? Good.
Nay.
Half and Hogan or nays. That's it, right? Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, half and Hogan. Dana and Dana.
Resolution number 183 by Supervisor Skelly, Rosell, Half, O'Brien, Shaw, Wilson, Fisher, titled to authorize purchase of 2023 Case TR 310 skid steer.
Moving resolution 183.
Moved by Supervisor Skelly, second. Paul, Fisher, Campbell, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 184 by Supervisor Skelly, Rosell, Half, O'Brien, Shaw, Wilson, Fisher, titled to set public hearing on introductory local law C of 2023, entitled a local law regulating sewer use for the county of Washington sewer districts number 1 and 2.
Moving resolution number 184.
Moved by Supervisor Skelly, second. Paul, Fisher, Campbell, O'Brien, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 185 by Supervisors Wilson, Hogan, Half, Hicks, O'Brien, Clary, titled to make appointment to the Washington County EMS Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 185.
Moved by Supervisor Wilson, second. Paul, Campbell, Clary, Roselle, and Nolan. Discussion. That hand, Sam? Okay, I thought you had your hand up. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 186 by Supervisors Wilson, Hogan, Half, Hicks, O'Brien, Clary, titled to make appointment to the Washington County Fire Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 186.
Moved by Supervisor Wilson, second. Paul, O'Brien, Campbell, Clary. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 187 by Supervisors Hicks, Skelly, Campbell, O'Brien, Fedler, Clary, Wilson, title amend staffing pattern, Youth Bureau alternative sentencing.
Mr. Chairman, moving 187.
Moved by Supervisor Hicks, second. Hall, Campbell, O'Brien, Wilson, and Nolan. Oh, I'm sorry, Clary and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 188 by Supervisor Hicks, title amend title by grade schedule to establish pay rates for special patrol officers.
Moving 188.
Moved by Supervisor Hicks, second. Hall, O'Brien, Half, Wilson, and Nolan. Discussion. Mr. Half.
Isn't Granville supposed to be included in this?
Yeah, I think we did that.
We already did that.
Further discussion. This is a roll call.
Mr. Hanky,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Hicks,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan, Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Half, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Skelly, Mr. Hogan, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary. Yes. Mr. Griffith,
Yes.
Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 4,485 yes, 205 absent. Resolution number 189 by Supervisors Hicks, Skelly, Campbell, O'Brien, Fedler, Clary, Wilson, title amend the staffing pattern, treasurer.
Mr. Chairman, moving 189.
Moved by Supervisor Hicks, second. Hall, O'Brien, Campbell, Wilson, Clary, Rozell, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 190 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Half, Hicks, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Rozell, Wilson, Griffith, title amend budget, mental health for 100% state aid.
Moving resolution 190.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Hall, O'Brien, Wilson, Clary, Griffith, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 191 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Half, Hicks, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Rozell, Wilson, Griffith, title amend budget, county road fund for additional CHIPS funding.
Moving resolution 191.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Hall, O'Brien, Skelly, Wilson, Clary, Griffith, Rozell, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 192 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Half, Hicks, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Rozell, Wilson, Griffith, title amend budget, sheriff for gun cabinets.
Moving resolution 192.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Hall, Half, Wilson, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 193 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Rozell, Wilson, Griffith, title to create capital project number 136 Lock 8 Way Bridge and execute intermunicipal agreement.
Moving resolution 193.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Hall, Fisher, Wilson, Clary, Griffith, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed?
Nay.
Half and Hogan.
Resolution number 194 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Half, Hicks, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Rozell, Wilson, Griffith, title to amend 2022 budget for various departments.
Moving resolution 194.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Second. Hall, Wilson, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. Mr. Half.
I just want to make sure I read through this, but I may have overlooked something. I just want to make sure that the word forfeiture is not in any of these lines.
I didn't see it. I think we can agree that forfeiture's not in any of those lines.
Thank you.
Further comment? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 195 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Half, Hicks, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Roselle, Wilson, Griffith, title to authorize purchase of Hart voting machines.
Moving resolution number 195.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Is there a second? Paul, Fisher, Clary, Griffith, and Nolan. I understand there's an amendment.
Yeah, motion to amend 195 to the sheet you see there. The difference was the maintenance agreements, when they're not included, you lose the funding on the discounts, a difference of over $35,000. So it's better to do it with the amended numbers. It's cheaper in the long run.
So we have a move to amend. I'm sorry, comment. A second by Hall and Griffith and Noland. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Carried. Back to the motion as amended. Mr. Hack. Oh, I'm sorry. Back to the motion as amended. Any discussion on the motion as amended, Mr. Half?
My name is listed as a sponsor of this. At that time, I agreed. At this time, I don't. Every time we are updated with information by the Board of Elections, the story changes every single time. So I'm a no. I mean, is this the story, or is it going to change again?
Hopefully it wouldn't change after we pass the resolution, but I'm not going to bet on it.
It's not supposed to.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? One name, Mr. Hash.
Resolution number 196 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Roselle, Wilson, Griffith, title to adopt a fund balance policy.
Moving resolution 196.
Move by Supervisor Campbell. Second, Mr. Hall, Wilson, Clary, Griffith, Roselle, and Nolan. Discussion. I'm sorry, O'Brien. Discussion, Mr. Half.
We might need a recess after all my talking to. I read this online. It's a very lengthy policy. I would like to see it changed to where it says a minimum of 20% in the unappropriated fund balance to a maximum of 20%. But it's such a long, lengthy policy and includes a whole bunch of things that I'm worried there's a Trojan horse in there somewhere. So I'm going to be another no. Thank you.
Mr. Hicks.
Did I miss it? Mine's only 4 pages. Is there another policy? Okay.
You got a Shetland and Dana got a workhorse.
Settle down. Is there any further comment? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Half.
Resolution number 197 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Half, Hicks, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Roselle, Wilson, Griffith, title to transfer funds to capital plan and amend budget.
Moving resolution 197.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Paul, Clary, and Nolan. I understand you want to amend this one also?
Yeah, motion to amend to the paperwork there, and it's just to do with the voting machines again.
Have a motion to amend. Is there a second? Paul, Fisher, Wilson. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed to the amendment? Mr. Half. Okay, moving back to the motion as amended. Any discussion on that? Mr. Half.
I'm in favor of all the barn projects and stuff, but not with the inclusion of the building. So I guess I have to be a no on all.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion as amended? Opposed? Yeah.
Resolution number 198 by Supervisor Campbell, title to award bid number 2023-19, replace rooftop units 5 and 6 at the Law Enforcement Center.
Moving resolution 198.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Paul, Wilson, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 199 by Supervisor Campbell, title to award bid number 2023-20, replacement chiller.
Moving resolution 199.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Paul, O'Brien, Wilson, and Noland. I'm Clary. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 200 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Clary, Griffith Hall, title to set time and place for a public hearing concerning the 2023-2024 Adirondack Community College budget.
Moving resolution number 200.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Paul, O'Brien, Wilson, Clary, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 201 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Clary, Griffith Hall, title to support revised Adirondack Community College capital improvement plan for 2023-24 in the total amount of $9,851,095.
Moving resolution 201.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Paul, O'Brien, Wilson, Clary, Griffith, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 202 by Supervisors Hicks, Skelly, Campbell, O'Brien, Fedler, title to appoint county youth director.
Mr. Chairman, moving 202.
Moved by Supervisor Hicks. There unanimous second. We have a unanimous second. Comment, discussion? I want to note for the record that in keeping with my policy of trying to completely stack our department heads with Argyle personnel, that even though she is a Cambridge resident, she does stay in her camp from May to September on Cossack Lake. So I think I'm claiming her as an Argyle resident. This is part of the Argyle coalition.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
So Sue, I want to sympathize with you. Those E's in the last name are tough.
Yeah.
For this group. So if you'd like to buy a vowel, I understand.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Supervisors' comments. Comments? Ms. Campbell.
We're almost halfway through the year. And I want everyone to realize how much we're gonna miss Mr. Half next year. Because he lived up to his name today and he was half negative. I think he had a negative comment for at least half the resolutions. But what he does bring to the table is genuinely important, and we all should remember that from hearing from all our supervisors, that they all bring a lot to the table. And even if we aren't in agreement, it should spur a little interest and make us do a little more research and educate on what they're actually referring to, because we can all miss things and everyone brings something, and that's greatly appreciated in my position.
Mr. Half.
Thank you, Brian, but I don't think today comes anywhere close to my record of no votes.
Oh, no, you were half. You lived up to your name.
I think my very first meeting 14 years ago, I was like no on everything. So I have progressed.
You have evolved.
Did you see
Supervisors' comments.
Did you see her progressive?
Mrs. Clary.
I want to invite everyone to our red, white, and blue 4th of July parade, the time has changed from 5 to 4 o'clock. And so, and then we're having a carnival redone at the historic Salem Courthouse. So everyone's invited, please come. And I'd also like to, the softball program this year for all ages, from little kids up to our Lady Generals, went to the New York State Championship game. And they did a incredible job in representing Salem. And that was really, really an exciting day for Salem, watching them leave, and they didn't win, but they did win by all their experiences. And one more thing, we have a German exchange program. And so June 28th through July 8th, we will have 50 some Germans coming for our music orchestra. And so they put on an orchestra, they stay in our homes. We'll have 2. If I bring a couple with me, don't be surprised, they both play cello. So it's an exciting time in Salem with lots of things going on, so. Summer started.
If they have a 5-minute cello piece, you could,
Probably
we
not.
could put you on as supervisors.
You just come to Salem and you listen to the orchestra and you'll be blown away. They practice hard and they do an incredible. They add to our community. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Nolan.
I'd like to invite everyone to make a parade.
I won't be going down there and get drafted for the dunking.
What are the hours for Whipple City Day? Is it all day long or is it? Thank you.
Mr. O'Brien.
On June 25th, for those history buffs who like to come, there is a DAR celebration at the Low Hampton William Miller Cemetery in Hampton. William Miller, who was one of the founders of the Seventh Adventist Church, is buried there. They will have a ceremony and wreath laying. And afterward, there will be refreshments and ability to tour the William Miller homestead and their property, which is really pretty extensive for the town of Hampton and any place else around. But if you're welcome, any questions, give me a call or email me and I provide all the details, but it should be a great event. Thank you.
Any other supervisors' comments? Okay, in that case, I got a couple. And in keeping with announcing 4th of July parades and things, Argyle, of course, has the most monumental 4th of July parade in the United States. So ours starts at 10 o'clock. And what makes it more significant is I'll be in it. So, you know. And if you come, I always throw candy to the supervisors. So, you know. Also, along with that, which makes it even more famous is the Argyle Fire Company barbecue, chicken barbecue. And I wanted to point out to you this year, there's no walk-in. It's all order ahead of time and drive through. They're not serving it on site. So I'll go to their website and order it. You got to order it by the June 27th, I believe, is the end date for that. And I wanted to mention that several of the supervisors, and you were all invited, went on a tour of our mental health facilities that Washington County residents use. Personally, I found that incredibly eye-opening, not only for the number and amount. I mean, we see resolutions come through and we're sending X number of dollars for this program or that program to here and there. And I guess I didn't, in my years here, have much of any idea what the extent of this. And I finally realized I was seeing, you know, terms like the Rose House and the this and the that, and I didn't really think I understood it. So we, you know, set up this tour. Several of us went on it. I was completely blown away by not only the number, but the quality of the institutions that we've got around here, you know, places I've driven by that you would never realize. And that is, you know, a halfway house, or that is a shelter, or that is this, or that is that. It's really impressive. I'm, you know, completely blown away by the amount of services and what we are doing for our people in Washington County. So My thanks to Rob York and Sue Clary for, I kind of forced her to set it up, so. I greatly appreciated that. Hope we could do that again and get more of you to participate in that. Okay, with that being said, I believe we have a,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request a brief executive session for the purposes, Roger, of discussion leading to the,
Appointment of a particular person.
and we do not anticipate any action items coming out of this at this time, and I'd like the chairman to invite the administrator and the personnel director to come in.
okay, we have a motion to go into executive sessions. There is a second. Mr. Hall, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Nolan. Discussion, all those in favor? Okay, we are in executive session. We will adjourn from executive session. We won't be taking any action, so